हॅलो, आवाज येत आहे?
हो सर.
Start lecture. Today we want to study the angiosperm. So this is the outline of we want to study. So we want to see overview of angiosperm, select two advantages of flowering plant, which has lead to their success. We want to see. Next, we will see this general characteristics of flowering plants. Next, reproductions in angiosperm. Next point we want to see this is a classification of angiosperm and ecological and economic importance of angiosperm. So if you see, this is the objective here. So by the end of this presentation, you, that student, should be able to define and discuss the term of angiosperm. Discuss the forms of reproductions in this organism, classification or classify the organism, and discuss the impact of this organism. आता तुमचं थोडं एज्युकेशन जे आहे आपण घेतोय ती सिस्टीम थोडी चेंज होते. आता जी सिस्टीम होती ओबीएस टाईप होणार आहे, म्हणजे ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह बेस्ड एज्युकेशन. म्हणजे तुम्हाला त्या सब्जेक्ट किंवा कोर्स पासून तुम्हाला काय शिकायला भेटतं किंवा एखादा टॉपिक तुम्ही स्टडी करताय त्याचा ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह काय तुमचं अंडरस्टँड व्हायला पाहिजे. अशा पद्धतीचं तुमचं सिलेबस आणि टीचिंग राहणार आहे इथून पुढे. आपण बघू. So if you see this overview, yesterday lectures we see the gymnosperm, that non-flowering plant. That's a past lecture. We see the characteristics of gymnosperm, and then we see the one plant like the cycles life cycle. So in here we see this overview of angiosperm. Angio, that's we call it some kinds of enclosed, and sperma means seed. So that's actual meaning here. Angio, जसं आपण जिम्नोस्पर्म म्हणतो, जिम्नोस्पर्म is a naked seed plant, but here angio means enclose the seed plants. So in this group here we can find out the fruit system here. Okay. While angiosperms we can find out directly seeds here. So flower is absent here. Okay. So if you see, angiosperm are plants that produce flower, fruit, and seeds, and have their ovules enclosed in ovary. So that is the meaning of this angiosperm. Flowering plants means a phenolograms. Is not a meaning here. Actually, meaning is this one. Angio means enclosed. Geo means in a ova, and sperm means a seeds here. So if you see here, it is some kinds of it's made up of the two Greek words, that is angion, that is called as a container, and sperma means a seeds here. So if you see, today these angiosperm are dominant all over the world. So we can find out the very diverse group in the plant kingdom. So in this angiosperm, the scientists have classified the 68 orders, 416 families, and approximately 13,164 genera. And in this genera, they have include 4 lakh species. So very large. That is this plants group all over the world they have distributed. So on if you see this makeup about, so 90% of all plant species on earth are the angiosperm. So if you see, consider the all level, it's called as the Anthophyta. So this is the some kinds of that is a sunflower, Ulfia, Muntia. These are the some kinds of plants. So if you see, this is the some plants here, some of the group. That is a well-known, that is a plant you see here. This is a sunflower here. This is the smallest plant. This is called as Ulfia, Azolla. So if you see this, some kinds of the advantages of flowering plants, which leads to their success, why they are dominant on earth nowadays. So there are some kinds of advantages, features they have. So we should be known that features. So angiosperms use flower to reproduce. So this is the some kinds of modifications they have. They have produced the flower, and due to the flower, that's whatever the insect or some kinds of other agent, they have attract towards the flowers, and for the reproduction purpose, they have used this adaptation. So reproductions get successfully uh, that's increased. So these kinds of adaptations they have, that is the endosperm's use of flower to reproduce, made them or more reproduce successfully. Next year, if you see in this gymnosperm, the gymnosperms are mostly pollinated by the wind. Only one agent they have. But in this angiosperm, if you see the pollination of flowers by the animals or the bees. So here the exchange for the nectar made by the angiosperm for more reproductively successful. If you see here, the flowers they have produced the that angiosperms they have produced the flower. So they have the special reason. Well, they have not only the flowers, they also produce some kinds of a nectar here, some kinds of anthers here. For the food purpose, that insect get visited directly or indirectly. That insect collect the pollen grain, visit to the next flower, and they can pollinate it. This pollinations takes place here. So that is a strategy. These angiosperms are used for the reproduction purpose. So they have use a beautiful flower, beautiful colors. So that's the reason here. So why they have, because of for the attraction purpose, they have produced a good flowers here. So in the color, in the fragrance, in the nectars, in some, they have some kinds of glands, they have the oils, and they have this kind of foods. This is we call as a foods, and these foods that insect they have collected and they have survived. So directly and indirectly, they have they have get a pollinations takes place here. Next, if you see, angiosperms also begin to encase their seeds in a fruits here, so which provide the extra nourishment and protect for the offspring. So if you see here, this angiosperms produce the fruit. So this fruit not for the human kinds here, especially we eat the fruits here, but not for the human purpose. आपल्यासाठी नाही येते food. They have produced the food for the offspring, for the seed purpose only. And until they cannot be grow, they can nourish that seeds here. जे फ्रुट्स असतं, आपण ते झाडापासून तोडतो आणि ते आपण खातो आणि सीड्स फेकून देतो, पण ते आपल्यासाठी नाही, ते सीड्स साठी, प्रोटेक्शन साठी असतं. तुम्ही जर आंबा तसाच राहून दिला आणि तो जो तुम्ही याच्यामध्ये जर ठेवला सॉइल मध्ये, तर ऑटोमॅटिकली त्या काही दिवसानंतर तो त्याच्यामधली जर फूड मटेरियल्स आहे, तर फूड मटेरियल एम्ब्रिओ मध्ये जाऊन एम्ब्रिओ ग्रो होतो. पण आपण त्याला ग्रो होऊन देतच नाही, कारण आपण खाऊन टाकतो त्याला. Okay, but actually this is the different mechanisms here in angiosperm. They have produced the flower, they have produced the fruit for the offspring purpose. So next, if you see, they produce the flowers and fruits. It's in the seeds dispersals also. Again here, they have used these fruits, animals, some kinds of human beings. So this eats this fruit and they carry the seeds from one place to animal and other place here. So that is the some kinds of strategy. They have produced a good test fruits. Okay. आता आपण कल्टिवेटेड केला, पण जर तुम्ही जर 100 वर्ष मागे गेला असेल तर एक पर्टिक्युलर फॉरेस्ट राहायचं. फॉरेस्ट मधून आपण काय करायचं, ते सीड्स आणत होतो, म्हणजे फ्रुट्स आणत होतो. फ्रुट्स आणल्यानंतर आपण खाऊन ते काय करायचं, टाकत होतो आणि त्याच्यापासून प्लांट तयार होतो. म्हणजे ही एक दुसरी स्ट्रॅटेजी आहे, फ्रुट्स कशापासून तयार करायचे, जेणेकरून ते एका त्याची जास्तीत जास्त मल्टिप्लिकेशन होण्यासाठी प्लांट्स काय करतात, ते फ्रुट्स तयार करत होते. ओके. Next, if you see, it can produce the spores which are more stable than the seeds from the gymnosperm. So आपण जर बघितलं, gymnosperm पेक्षा seeds are most stable because they have some kinds of fruits, they have some kinds of a coating as well as the endosperm. So there's a different causes here. Next, if you see, is most important, they have vessels, and that can be escalated there, bro. In the gymnosperms, we cannot be find the vessels, but in angiosperms, we find the vessels. Vessels, these are especially in these highlight elements, you can find out here, and it carries this water from root to the stem region. Next, if you see some similarities between the gymnosperm and angiosperm. So if you see, both are capable for production of pollen for fertilization. And this we call as some kinds of, they have produced the cypanogamous. That means the pollen tubes they have formed. We can also see in the gymnosperm and angiosperm that pollen tubes are they have formed. This is the similarities here. Next, if you see, whatever the plant body are the sporophytic, and it's this plant body are differentiated into root, stem, and leaves here. Next, if you see these ovules, both of angiosperms and gymnosperms develop into this seeds here. Whatever we see this ovule or some kinds of seeds, they have some kinds of similar structures here. Next, most distinct similarity is reduction of gametophytic phase in the both plants. जसं जिम्नोस्पर्म मध्ये कोन तयार होतो, तसं अँजिओस्पर्म मध्ये फ्लावर तयार होतं. आणि ही जी जे स्टेज आहे ही खूप स्मॉल स्टेज आहे. सो त्यालाच काय म्हणलेलं आपण, रिड्यूस दी gametophytic phase आहे. So angiosperms appears on earth during the crystallized period here. Some kinds of after than the gymnosperm, because they are common ancestors is the gymnosperm. From the gymnosperm, the angiosperm are originated. So after the gymnosperm, the angiosperm are originated. If you see this nitum, I already tell that this nitum are the linkage in between the some kinds of gymnosperm and angiosperm, because they have some kinds of similarities characters of gymnosperm and angiosperm. The origin and spread of angiosperm it describes by the abominable ministry by the Charles Darwin. This is the well-known scientist. They have write a book on the angiosperms. This is the title, Abnormal Mystery. Yeah. So some kinds of genotophytes and bentels are the group of gymnosperms are most similar of angiosperm. If you see, this is the we already see this is a Velvestia. This is the sometimes of nitum, and these are the group of gymnosperms. They have show the similar characters like this angiosperm. Yeah. So this is the some kinds of evolution. Yeah. So if you see here, next point, angiosperm are mostly terrestrial. Terrestrial means all over the world. It may be a soil, it may be a water also, or in the sand area also they are available. So some of these species of the angiosperms, they have the aquatic also. So we see in this photograph, these are the aquatic plants under this ocean. We can find out these kinds of plants here. So this is the aquatic plants here. So next, if you see the characteristics, uh, other forms of habitats here, some kinds of angiosperms, they have the fresh water. For example, if you take the Ulfia, Lemia, this is the hydrophytic plants. Next, these most of angiosperms are the mesophytic plants. So sunflower, mulberry, these are the good example of some kind mesophytic plants. Next, the xerophytic plants. So these are the xerophytic plants. So we see here. So that is the cactus. We can find out all over the desert area. So that are the angiosperm. Next, some of these succulent plants we can also find out here. So this is also the xerophytic plants. So Forbia, Opuntia, etc. So terrestrial means they have a different kinds of a group. Some of the habitat are hydrophytic, mesophytic, xerophytic. So we can classify on the basis of the habitat, on the basis of ecological factor. So this is the classification on the basis of environment where they prefer to grow. They prefer to grow in water, so that is called as a hydrophyte. They prefer to grow on soil, that is called as a mesophyte. They prefer to grow on a sand or some kind of a soil, but very small water they have. That means they grow in a water scarcity. So that is called as a xerophytic plants. Yeah. So this is the very successful. Again here, this plant group, they have some kinds of a very diversified in habitat here. So some kinds of a lithophytics here. So halophytics, some kinds of only sand or some kinds of on the rock surface, as well as some kinds of so, सॅमोनोफाइट्स सँड वरती बघा तुम्हाला असं एक प्लांट दिसतं, इथं रॉक वरती तुम्हाला दिसतंय, मार्शी हॅबिटॅट वरती तुम्हाला असं प्लांट दिसतं. सो ऍक्च्युली दीज आर दी मार्शी, that means in the seashore area you can find out this kinds of plant that is called the mangrove plant. So particularly in the ecosystem this is very important here. This is also the some kinds of marshy habitat plants here. So very vast uh, the habitat we can find out here. So habit of plants can be determined by the height, duration, and nature. So again here we can classify this angiosperm on the basis of height, on the basis of the duration. So if you see, if we consider the first point on the basis of the height here, so this angiosperm are the three main types. One you call as a herb, shrub, and tree. So for example, take on the wheat. So up to the 4 to 5 feet, that plants grow. That is we call as the herbs here. So mostly grasses, Gramineaceae family or the grasses come into this group. That is called as a herb. Above 4 feet up to the 6 feet, so that plants grow. That is we call as some kinds of shrubs here. त्याला आपण झुडूप म्हणतो. So jasmine, mogra किंवा puja, sorry, that's they're related here. So that's we call as the shrubs here. And above the 6 feet, those plants grow. That is we call as the tree habitat. So Dalbergia sissu or some kinds of a mango. These are the common example of the here. Again here, if you see habitats here, how they have grow. So how the mode of their stem as well as habits here. So we see this trials, example tribulus. आपण त्याला काय म्हणतो, एक मराठी नाव आहे बघा, गवत वर्गामध्ये येतं त्याच्यामध्ये क्रिपर्स, सरपटणारे ग्रासेस, ट्विनर्स, सम काइंड्स ऑफ ट्विन्स किंवा वेलवर्गीय असं म्हणतो, क्लाइंबर्स, ग्रेप्स अँड वाइन्स, लिनियस. This is all types of this climber, but it's having woody in nature. And epiphytes, they can prefer to grow on other plants. So these are the epiphytes. So this is the habit, how the stems they have. Uh, So again here, the branch of biology that will study of form, size, and structure of an organism. So morphology and angiosperm bodies are divided into two main systems. One is called as the root system and shoot system here. So if you see generally, so these are the typical structure of plants. So underground plant portions are the root portions, while the above the soil region, this portion we call as the shoot system here. So this in figure we can detailedly observe here. So this is the soil surface area. Beneath the soil surface area, these are the root structure. So main roots, that is called as taproots, lateral branches we call as a lateral root system. If you see this above the ground here, that we call as a shoot system. The shoot system consists of this stem. On the stems you can find with nodes and internode regions. Next, we can see these branches as well as we can see some kinds of birds, axillary birds, terminal birds. This is the some kinds of a petal, leaf. Okay, so this is the leaf portion. Next, we see the at the terminal or we call it the shoot apex. We can find out the flower. So actually, these are the system or we call it the body parts here. So again, if you see detail in the endosperm plants, in the root system, you can find out the very diversity. different plants having the different kinds of root system here. So we have divided this on the basis of the structure of the roots here. The taproot system, fibrous root system, and next we call as the adventitious root system here. So in photographs here, we can find out here, these are the uh, taproot system here. Taproot means tapering to the end. So this, like they have grown, that is called as the taproot system. This is the fibrous root system. Mostly in monocot, we can find out these kinds of root system here. Another, this is the adventitious also. So this is the actually marsh habitat plants, mangrove plants. You can find out very dense branching, that kinds of roots they have grow beneath the soil surface as well as the water area here. So these are the three types of roots here: taproot, fibrous, and adventitious. These are the, sometimes you can use this word fibrous and adventitious alternate to each other. So sometimes you call as a fibrous or you call as a adventitious root system. So a taproot system you can find out in the dicot plant, while this adventitious and fibrous system in a monocot plants here. So this is the distribution characters of endospermic plants. In during this root system, you can also classify the groups here. Next, if you see this venation in the plants here. So pattern of vein on the leaf also having the different types. Mostly in this monocot, we can find out the parallel venation. So these are the parallel venation. We can view here inside the photograph here. In the all this monocot, we can find out these kinds of lip system, lanceolated large lip system, and through the that is this is the midrib system, but they grow, or veins are grow parallel to the midrib here. So that is called the parallel venation. So this is the characteristics of monocotyledon. All the monocotyledons we can find out this kinds of venations. So on the venations also, through the venation, through the root system, we can identify which plants are monocot, which plants are the dicot. So next, the venation is the reticulate venation. So this is the leaf system. So this is the for mid vein, then the lateral vein, then sublateral vein. So these kinds of venations we can find out in the dicot system, that is called as the reticulate venation. Again, they have the different kinds of venations here. This is the subtypes here. So parallel pinnately, parallel divert, parallel converted, reticulate pinnate, reticulate converted, reticulate diverted, as like this. So these are the venations in the leaf system here. Next, if you see uh, nutritions here, all the angiosperm are mostly autotrophic. That means they prepare their own food material. Auto means self, tropic means capturing of energy, or we call as the producing of energy. So that is called as autotrophic here. But some of these species are the heterotrophic. So they cannot be prepared due to the absence of photosynthetic pigments. So they depend upon the another plants, depending upon the some kinds of dead and decaying matter. So these are heterotrophic angiosperms are the three types we call as the saprophytic, parasitic, and next is the insectivorous. So if you see here, this is the some kinds of parasitic plants here. If you see this one, this plant especially grow on dead and decaying material, so that is called as a saprophytic here. And again here, some plants due to the some kinds of absence of proteinous material, they require the much more amount of protein, so they depend upon the insect here, and they can eat the insect or digest the insects, so that is called as the insectivorous angiosperm. So these are the some kinds of nemthas or venus flytrap. Okay, so this is the particular modification of that plant, and they can due to the some kinds of soil that have nitrogen supply less quantity, but that plant require the much more nitrate. For that purpose, they can eat that insect. So what's happened? They can adapt it the parts, plant parts. Either this we see, this is the flower adaptations here. Okay, and this is the leaf adaptations. If you see here, we can observe here, this is some kinds of funnel-like structure. This is the peduncle here, and here we can find out the empty space. This is the lead here, and inside here is the glands are present, and this gland secrete some kinds of a sticky substance as well as the sugary substance. Due to this sugary substance or sticky substance, insect fly they have attract towards here for the eating the sugar or some kinds of that's sticky substance. But when this fly enters here for the eating purpose, they due to the slippery nature they can fall down inside the bottom of that flower, and automatically this lid get closed. And what happened here? There is some kinds of ducts are present at the bottom of that flower, and they can secrete the enzyme. And due to that enzyme secretions, the digestion of the insect takes place here. So this is the mechanism of that nepenthes. Here is also same here. When this insect visited that plants here, they can sit in here. They have some kinds of a sensors like structure. When they sit here, automatically this leaf get closed, and that venous fly get trapped. जाळं किंवा त्याला अडकण्याचा प्रयत्न करतात, and they can digest that insect. ऍक्च्युली त्या सॉइल मध्ये डिफिशियन्सी असते, नायट्रेटची डिफिशियन्सी असते, आणि ते डिफिशियन्सी कव्हर करण्यासाठी त्यांनी काय मॉडिफिकेशन केले म्हणून ते इन्सेक्ट इटिंग आहे. आपल्याकडे बरेचसे प्लांट सापडतात पण आपण लक्ष देत नाही. ओके, next characters we see some kinds of a bacteria, they have a symbiosis with the leaf here. त्या लिफची बरोबर काहीतरी काही प्लांट्स आहेत त्याच्यामध्ये सिम्बायोटिक असोसिएशन करतात. So some unique and some kinds of interactions between the bacteria and flowering plants, which we call as the endosymbiotic, आतमध्ये, and organized in the leaf structure. So this is the some kinds of Bopholdia. This is the plant. This is the endosymbiotic, can be found in the 54 plant species. Yeah. So we call as some kinds of obligate parasite-like structure they have. So this is the bacteria, and they have the symbiotic association with the leaf here. So what is symbiotic association? So that bacteria live inside the leaf here, and either the leaf portion, either the some kinds of roots portion here, and these plants provide the shelter that bacteria, and this bacteria provides to plants some kinds of minerals as well as some kinds of growth hormones they have secreted here. So if you see here, some kinds of a nitrogen fixation bacteria, they also have the symbiotic association with root, and they form the noodles. For example, especially if you see in the Leguminaceae family, जेवढ्या काही शेंगवर्गीय प्लांट्स आहे, तर त्याच्यात तुम्ही रूट्स जर बघितले तर रूट्स वरती गाठी असतात बघा. तुम्ही भुईमुगाच्या शेंगा जर बघितल्या असतात त्याला उपटल्या तर त्याच्या ज्या रूट्स असतील त्याच्या गाठी असतील. किंवा तूर बघा, तूर आहे, हरभरा आहे, जेवढ्या शेंगा येतात त्या सगळ्यांचं तुम्ही जर ऑब्झर्वेशन केलं तर रूट्सला काय अशा सिम्बायोटिक असोसिएशन गाठी आलेल्या. If you see the chemical composition of the fruit, they have the high rich of protein. ओके, त्याच्यामध्ये प्रोटीनचं प्रमाण जास्त असतं. प्रोटीनसाठी त्यांना काय लागणार, जास्तीत जास्त नायट्रोजन लागणार. पण नायट्रोजन तर सॉइल मध्ये एवढं नाहीये, मग ते कुठून आणणार? सो दे हॅव सम काइंड्स ऑफ दिस काइंड्स ऑफ मेकॅनिझम. सो नायट्रोजन इल्डिंग जे बॅक्टेरिया असतील ते काय करतात, त्या सॉइलच्या सभोवतालच्या परत जर मीटिंग संपली ना परत त्या लिंकवर क्लिक करा, 12 वाजेपर्यंत आपण घेऊ. त्या सॉइलच्या नियर सरफेसला असतात. ज्यावेळेस हे प्लांट आपण हॅलो, आपण जर बघितलं तर प्लांटला जास्त प्रमाणात नायट्रेट्स लागतं, कारण नायट्रेट्स अमाइन तयार करतं, आणि अमाइन दॅट इज कॉल्ड दिस अमाइन आर फॉर्म द अमिनो ऍसिड्स, आणि अमिनो ऍसिड्स फॉर्म काय करतो? प्रोटीन. म्हणून आपण प्रोटीनची डेफिनेशन केली, पाहिली, तर इट इज अ लॉंग लॉंग चेन ऑफ अमिनो ऍसिड्स. ओके. सो ते अमिनो ऍसिड करण्यासाठी त्यांना काय लागतं? नायट्रोजन. म्हणजे जी बॅक्टेरिया त्यांना सेंटर नसल्यामुळे ते काय करतात? रूट झोन मध्ये राहतात. त्यामुळे काय करतं? ते रूटची थोडी प्रॉपर्टी चेंज होते, तिथे नोडल्स तयार होतात, आपण त्याला गाठी म्हणतो, आणि त्या नोडल्स मध्ये त्या बॅक्टेरिया राहतात, आणि त्या बॅक्टेरिया किंवा तो ऑर्गॅनिझम जे ऍटमॉस्फेरिक नायट्रोजन ते काय करतो? फिक्स करतो आणि प्लांटला सप्लाय करतो. So that is the mechanism here. So this is we call as some kinds of a symbiotic association. So this is some kinds of bacteria on the leaf here also. So they forms upon some kinds of noodles. अशा गाठी आलेल्या दिसतात बघा अशा, किंवा फोडासारखे असे स्ट्रक्चर दिसतात. So actually they have this some kinds of a symbiotic association. Okay. So these are some kinds of protection against the pathogen, some kinds of solubilized oxalate, like nutrients साठी सुद्धा काही bacteria आहे, ते symbiotic association करतात. So these are some kinds of functions here. Next, if you see again here, the pattern of the seed germination. Seed germination कसं होतं? हे पण characteristics आहे. So three types of seed germinations you can find out in the angiosperm. One we call as the hypogel, next we call as the epigel, and next is the viviparous germinations. Okay. So we see one by one here. Hypogel means, if you see this one, so hypocotyledon, you can find out here. जेव्हा सीड जर्मिनेट होतं आणि जर्मिनेशन झाल्यानंतर कॉटिलिडॉन हे वरती निघतं, जमिनीच्या वरती, असं इथे दिसतं. जसं आपण चिंच लावतो, चिंचुका लावल्यानंतर त्याच्या पहिले आपल्याला 2 कॉटिलिडॉन दिसतात, नंतर त्याचा पिमिकल्स येतं. सो दॅट्स यू कॉल ॲज अ हायपोजियल. ओके. नेक्स्ट इपिजियल. सो कॉटिलिडॉन रिमेन ॲज इट इज इन सॉइल. सॉइल मध्ये तसंच राहतं. सो इथे बघा, हे इथे कॉटिलिडॉन काय तसंच राहतं, आणि प्लांट्स वरती ग्रो होऊन येतं. सो त्याला आपण काय म्हणलं? इपिजियल. दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज इपिजियल. And papaverus. So this is the papaverus. Okay. So this is the general characteristic. Again, if you see the endosperm exhibit what is called movement of curvature here. So movement restricted only by bending or movement of some body parts. So they have the two types here. One is called as autonomic, next is the paratonic. So that is called as a spontaneous movement of curvature, and next we call as a induced type of a curvature. So this is what we call as some kinds of autonomic movement of variation. This is again the two types. Next is the autonomic movement of growth. So in this induced movement, or we call as the paratonic movement, there are the two. One is called as the growth purpose, and one is called as the variation purpose. So this is the movement here. आपण म्हणतो प्लांट आर द लिव्हिंग वन. ओके. लिव्हिंग वन आहे, तर लिव्हिंगची प्रॉपर्टी सगळं आपल्याला माहिती आहे. तर पहिली जर बघितली, रेस्पिरेशन आहे, नेक्स्ट ग्रोथ आहे, आणि नेक्स्ट मुवमेंट. प्लांट मुवमेंट करतं का? सो दे हॅव द मुवमेंट. ओके. प्लांट मुवमेंट करतं. सो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ मुवमेंट्स दे हॅव. सो दिस इज द कॅरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हियर. So if you see this vital movement, next is the hygroscopic movement. In the vital movement of locomotion. Next is for the movement of the curvature. If you see this locomotion, that means one place to another place. That actually stem is not moved, but root as well as the shoot system, they have moved a particular direction. So if you see here, autonomic, some kinds of chilary, amoeboid, and cyclosis, you can find out inside the plant body here. And if you see in the paratonic or tactic movement, phototactic, chemotactic, and thermotactic. Phototactic means with the light directions plant will grow. जनरली आपण घरात बघतो बघा, मनी प्लांटचं झाड लावलं आपण, मनी प्लांटचं झाड जर सावलीत लावलं, तर ते ऑटोमॅटिक खिडकीच्या डायरेक्शननी प्लांट वाढतं. So that means they have grow toward the light. So this is the example that is called as a phototactic movement here. तुम्ही जर नारळाची झाडं बघितली बघा, डेन्स असे झाडं असतात, पण त्याचं जर बघितलं काही झाडं असे उभे सरळ गेलेले असतात, काही झाडं वाकडे गेलेले असतात. त्याला जसं फोटोसिंथेसिस भेटतं त्या डायरेक्शनने ते वाढतात. So that's we call as a movement. Okay. So that is the paratactic or tactic movement, and those are called as some kinds of phototactic. Again, some kinds of chemotactic movements also. Okay, roots especially grow through these chemotactic movements again. Next is the thermotactic movement. Toward the temperature, they have response. So first time the Indian scientists Jagdish Chandra Bose, they have um, work on this plant, and they have get a research paper, and first time they have put before the word that plants having the sensation, and that this is the Indian scientist, and through this his research, that's first scientist of India got a Nobel Prize. Only what's the plants having the sensation, plantला sensation असतं. या सायंटिस्टने प्रूव्ह केलं म्हणून त्याला ते नोबेल प्राइज भेटलेले. जगदीश चंद्र बोस. दिस इज अ physiological scientist here, plant physiological scientist here. So these are the some kinds of movements here. Next, movement of curvature. So this is again the some kinds of autonomic, and next is the paratomic. So these are also having the some kinds of a growth movement. We call it the hyponastic. Next is the nictenastic, epenastic, न्यूट्रिशनल, सर्क्युलेशनल. बघा आपण ग्रो ज्या प्लांट्सच्या जे प्लांट बॉडी असते किंवा फिमेल रॅडिकल असतं त्याच्या वेगवेगळ्या मुवमेंट्स होत असतात. जसं तुम्ही सिस्टमॅटिक म्हणता आपण जिम्नोस्पर्म मध्ये किंवा टेरोफाइट मध्ये लीफचं सर्व स्टार्टिंगला बघितलं ते असं एकदम स्प्रिंग सारखं असतं. ओके, पण जसजशी ग्रोथ होती ते काय करतं एक लॉंग स्लेंडर असं लिफलेट्स तयार करतं. So that we call it the circular movements. असं वेगवेगळ्या टाईपच्या मुवमेंट्स होतात. Next here, again here, plants having the growth movements. So one we call it the geotropic, phototropic, thigmotropic, hydrotropic, chemotropic, thermotropic. आता जिओट्रॉपिकचं गुड एक्झाम्पल रूट बघा. रूट कोणतं सीड लावा तर त्याची रूट सिस्टीम ग्रॅव्हिटी किंवा सॉइल मध्येच जाते आणि फिमेल हे अपोजिटला जाते. सो दिस इज वी कॉल एज अ मुवमेंट. So that is called as a one polar part of plants grow towards the gravity, and another that plant portion grow opposite to the gravity. So actually, this is the actually scientific reason. They produce some kinds of hormones. I already explained in lectures. That's they have particular produce the growth hormones, auxin and cytokinin. Auxin heavily dense as compared to cytokinin, and this auxin produce some kinds of much more in a root system. Hello sir. नमस्कार, बोला ना. काय नाही, आम्ही गेलतो बरं का नर्सरीमध्ये. तर त्याच्यामध्ये जी मी तुम्हाला 5-15 मिनिटात फोन करू का? मग डिटेल सांगतो. मी लेक्चर घेतोय. ते संपलं का मग तुम्हाला फोन करतो. हां? हां. बघा त्या रूट पोर्शनला काय होतं, ऑक्सिन सिंथेसिस जास्त होतं आणि ऑक्सिन हे डेन्स असतं ऍज कम्पेअर टू दिस जिबरलिंग ऑफ सायटोकायनिन, आणि त्यामुळे रूटच्या ज्या टिप पोर्शनला ऑक्सिन असतं त्यामुळे रूट हे डाऊनवर्ड साईडला म्हणजे जे ग्रॅव्हिटीला काय करतं पुल, ग्रॅव्हिटीनुसार पुल होत जातं. आणि फिमेल जे असतं शूट सिस्टम असते तिथे ऑक्सिन कमी प्रमाणात सिक्रेट सायटोकायनिन आणि जिबरलिंग असतं. ते काय होतं फिमेल ग्रोथला रिस्पॉन्सिबल असतात. तसं फोटोट्रॉपिक आहे. जसं मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं कुंडीमध्ये तुम्ही झाड लावलं आणि अंधारामध्ये लावलं तर तुम्हाला 2-3 दिवसात त्याचं शूट हे खिडकीकडे वाढलेलं दिसतं. ओके, सो दॅट इज अ फोटोट्रॉपिक आहे. थिग्मोस्टॅटिक लाईट टेम्परेचर